Fantastic. Does this seem a little bit more space than we have over at the home?
What's up, guys? We're gonna give everybody a couple minutes to join and then we'll get started here. All right, let's see here. All right, thank you guys for coming. Should be able to see my screen. If you guys have stocks that you want me to look at, different things you want me to look at, you can go ahead and send those over. And then we will I'm just going to give my overview as we always do and kind of talk about what I'm looking into this week. So, as for last week, all of this was pretty expected. Like this move, this upside move that we had was expected. I mean, we had discussed that last week. I expect it to continue, but I am expecting in the next couple weeks to have some sort of pullback. I do think that we're going to have something similar, or that my view on the markets is the same that I had last week, which I'm bullish, but like short term in terms of trend, I'm bullish. Short term, I am kind of looking for a pullback at some point. We'll kind of discuss why. So, reason being really is because if you look at the trend that we've been having, and we discuss this almost every week, we kind of see this similar pattern that happens just over and over again. So let's get this, pull this down a bit. Okay, so if you look at the chart, we push out a 2 ATR, come back to the mean, or this cloud area, right? We go to outside 2 ATR, strong market, didn't pull back to mean. 2 ATR, pull back to the mean. 2 ATR, pull back to the mean. Outside of 2 ATR, pull back to the mean. 2 ATR, back to the mean. Change trend. 2 ATR, back to the mean. Choppiness. 2 ATR, back to the mean. And then 2 ATR, back to the mean. 2 ATR, back to the mean. Okay, so, and here we are at 2 ATR, outside of 2 ATR. So what is probably likely going to happen? We're probably going to head back to the mean, right? I mean, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 instances in the past where every time we've got to 2 ATR outside of it, we pull back to the mean on the NASDAQ. It's pretty much the same story with SPY. It might actually be cleaner on SPY. You can kind of see here. So 2 ATR back to the mean. Outside of 2 ATR, strong market. Outside of 2 ATR, back to the mean. 2 ATR, back to the mean. Outside of 2 ATR, back to the mean. 2 ATR, back to the mean. And then we had to push up to 2 ATR, back to the mean, chopped around a bit. 2 ATR, back to the mean. 2 ATR, back to the mean. So right now I'm kind of expecting we're at 2 ATR. I think we could have a little bit more room upside, But ultimately I am, so right now, basically I'm just going to be cautious to the long side in terms of like day trades and stuff like that. The further we move up, the higher the likelihood that we are going to revert back to the 21 EMA. And really what I think is just taking place right now is the reason we didn't get that full pullback to the 21 is because we were getting a trend shift, right? So really what's happening is we're kind of having a consolidation here and might continue to do that until this 21 crosses the 34, and then we kind of have created a trend shift. So, I mean, longer term view, what I'm expecting is for these EMAs to shift, we pull back to the 21, we either create a squeeze and trade sideways for a bit and create a daily squeeze and then kind of continue upside back to 52-week highs, or we just straight up have these EMAs cross, we pull back to the mean, and then we go straight, or kind of not straight, but obviously with either of these, but more so a uptrend up to new highs. So that's kind of what I'm expecting. And we've been talking about the same thing for since this low here on this Friday. We've been looking for a short covering rally. We can kind of talk about why. Main reason being is if you go look at the put call ratio, you can see here we have the 10 SMA above the 1.0 level here on the put call. And I posted this in the chat the other day, so I'll show you guys it for the Signals members. So you can see here, let me get this chart pulled up real quick. Oh, that's not the right one. One moment. Okay, so definitely just dragged and dropped on there. Okay, hold on. Give me a second. Computer malfunction. Okay, so here's the chart. So every time this 10 SMA, which is this blue line here, gets above 1.0, it means there's too many buyers in the market and we're probably going to reverse. I talk about this concept all the time with the Signals chat, and it's a lot of times how we catch reversals. So it's over 1.0 here. You can see that marked the bottom and started this run. And then when it gets below 0.8, you can see it's the likelihood of having a sell-off becomes really evident. And so, or becomes really like a much higher chance that it's going to happen, right? So you can see here, let me pull up the chat real quick, just in case people have questions. So you can see here, we're down below 0.8, which is this line here. See, this is 1.0, this is 0.8. So we had this move below, and then notice we had a pullback, and then kind of hung out below it. Once we got really oversold close to that 0.7 area, that's when we had that huge shift in the market earlier this year. And then you can kind of see from here, we had a pop here because of the put call. And then now we've got our kind of what happened. This was the reason why we had, or a huge reason why we had that short covering rally we had a few weeks ago. And this is how we caught Microsoft to the upside. So that's kind of the big thing that I like to pay attention to. So the put call ratio is still in overextended territory. It needs to work its way back down to something neutral, or possibly that 0.8 before we see a significant trend change. Throw this off. Okay, so then we'll go back to the charts. So that's number one. Number two reason that I'm bullish is because we have this weekly squeeze here. Looks much better on the NASDAQ. And I am particularly bullish on the NASDAQ tech stocks, because if we just do a quick glance over, you can see, okay, so look at XLK, right? See how this chart looks? Clean bull flag, breaking out of that. We're almost at 2 ATR, and we're about to touch all-time highs. Okay, which is that orange line. Okay, now look at XLV. Just get a comparison for yourself. See XLK, this is technology, which makes up 30% of the S&P 500 and 48% of the NASDAQ and 20% of the Dow, which most people don't pay attention to as much. So then there's XLV, which this has been trading in a range. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw, it's been trading in a range since 2021. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some sort of bounce in this area where we've bounced pretty much every other time. We could fire short, but this doesn't make up, it makes a significant part of the market up, but not as much as XLK. So I kind of expect it to possibly reverse and bounce off this support. And the charts for the S&P 500 look good as well. So just take a look at XLK and then take a look at XLF. This one looks fine. There's nothing too terrible about it. It's just not a clean chart. SMH, you can see here, we're about to go break all-time highs, which is semiconductors, tech heavy space. So notice how clean XLK and SMH look in comparison to XLF and XLV. XLV is healthcare. XLF is financials. Okay, then we look here. You can see XLY. This would make up your Amazon and Tesla. This one doesn't look nearly as good. It's starting to clean up a little bit, getting back above the 21. We could see the EMA start to reverse. We just need Tesla to pick itself back up. And then you can look at XLC, which is a significant portion of the NASDAQ. This is your Meta, Netflix, Disney, stuff like that. This chart looks great. So, and we're right near that 52-week high. So we break that 52-week high, we can probably see it go or have it go to 71 and then kind of continue its uptrend. And especially if this weekly squeeze fires to the upside, there's a pretty great chance that we could see a pretty significant move for XLC. So you can see how good XLK and SMH look in comparison to the other sectors in the market. There's energy, consumer staples, XLU, industrials. The XLU is utilities, and then this is home builders. So when you look at all these, you can tell that so XLC is pretty tech heavy. It's communications, it's Google, it's Meta, it's Netflix, and then you've got SMH, which looks great too. This is your AMDs, NVIDIA, Taiwan Semiconductors, things of that nature. And then you also have XLK, which is your Apple, your Microsoft that just hit 52-week highs. NVIDIA's in this sector as well. And then you have, those are kind of the top three sectors that look really good. And these are the sectors that make up a majority of the NASDAQ. So the NASDAQ is made up of 48% of the NASDAQ is made up of 48% of tech, which is XLK. So half of it is made up of XLK, right? So a lot of times it's going to move in proportion to that, as well as 14% is made up of XLY, which is starting to clean up, and then 15% XLC. So you can kind of see why I'm leaning towards the NASDAQ. And if you just look at the NASDAQ chart in general without looking at basically the interior under the hood type stuff, you can see NASDAQ seems to be holding up a bit better than SPY, right? You can see the decline, the 21 cross, or the 8 cross below the 21. And for the NASDAQ, it didn't do that, and it just looks stronger. So I'm expecting this weekly squeeze to fire off, to get us to that 2 ATR 52-week highs. I would be surprised, honestly, if we didn't see this by the end of the year. I would be surprised if we didn't see it by the end of the year. We could see some more consolidation and just kind of chop sideways, but I'm not expecting. I think the low is in for the year. And I think the 52-week high is probably going to happen by the end of the year. And I think all-time highs is probably going to happen in Q1 of next year. And so that's my opinion on that. So what are some names that we can kind of look at? So we kind of narrow our focus, right? It's like, okay, so we think the market's going to go higher. I think SPY is going to go higher as well. It just doesn't look as clean as the NASDAQ. And obviously, tech is leading based on how it looks. It's right near all-time highs as well as SMH. So I want to look for names that are leading, right? So we want to look at names within the NASDAQ and kind of look at, okay, which ones do we think we probably want to go long on? Apple looks okay. Honestly, it's not my number one contender of something that I want to go long on. It does look good. To go back to new highs, it's just that's not the first one that I'd run to. Personally, first names I'm going to go to is if we can get a pullback in Microsoft, which we already played this one, caught a really nice move on this one the week before and kind of held runners all last week. But so I like this one. If we could get a pullback, I do like it, but there are names that I do like better. Being NVIDIA, if we can get NVIDIA a pullback, see, I've got an alert here. If I can get a pullback to around that 450, 455 area, that's where I'd like to get long NVIDIA and take it back up to that 52-week high. And then after that, I mean, it leaves the door open. So that would be all-time high. So what we'd kind of have to do with that is go with a fib retracement for our next target, which would be that 532 price level. So that's what I'm looking at for NVIDIA. The next one that I really like is in the communication sector and would be Meta here. So I think Meta looks really great. It's right near 52-week highs. I know people in the Discord were playing this based off the squeeze on the daily time frame as well as the 2-day. And also the 3-day looks really good as well. So there's kind of all those things working for it. So really what could happen is this daily squeeze that fired off could trigger the 2-day, which then could trigger the 3-day, which then could set off the weekly. And then kind of first target would be at 336 area, 335 area. And then from there, you've got a little bit of resistance right here at 352. And this is kind of a similar situation where you could look for that. First, I'd be looking at just psych levels, right? That 335, because that's 2 ATR. And then from there, I'd be looking at 350. And then from there, I'd be looking for new all-time highs. And then lastly, 400. I don't know if that weekly squeeze is going to get us there, but I do think that is a possibility. So let's look at the monthly chart. Nothing too great on the monthly chart to look at. But I would say my main priority would be getting long the Qs, so the NASDAQ for that weekly squeeze and taking that up into targets of first that 52-week high is the kind of the easy money, the low-hanging fruit. And then from there, I'm looking for back to that all-time high, probably that 400 area ultimately. And then that would be kind of my main grab. That's kind of the main thing I would trade. My biggest position would be there. From there, I would go into probably NVIDIA and look at taking that one long because that's so close to 52-week highs. It's been strong for so long. It looks great. And then from there, I'm probably going to go with Meta. Tesla, I don't want to touch to the upside. It doesn't look great at all, in my opinion. If you wanted, yeah, I don't see anything to play here. But that's kind of what I'm looking for. Just a little run over. Oh, another name that I do really like as well is Netflix. If I can get a pullback on this one, I'd really like to take this one long. Back into the first, we can take it to that 470 area, then 52-week highs. And then you can see that's kind of a key resistance right out of that 52-week highs. You can see it was support, turned to resistance. So I would look for it to make it to that level there and see if it can break from there. CRM also looks pretty good. This is within the tech sector. We've got a little falling wedge pattern happening. So I do think this one looks pretty decent for a push upside. You can kind of see the structure change that happened. So so I'm kind of looking for just a continuation of higher highs and higher lows on this one. So that's what I'm kind of watching here for CRM. And then shop, not really anything I want to play. Crude oil had a good short earlier this week. But I'm not seeing too much to trade on this one. But that's kind of my main Adobe as well. If I can get a pullback in Adobe, that'd be great. But really, we're hitting. We have already taken off. Like this one is gone. So I'm not looking to play that one as much as these other names like Meta and Nvidia. I would say those are my top two picks. From there, a couple other reasons that I am leaning bullish is because potentially we could have a reversal in bonds, as we talked about last week on Sunday. You can see we had a weekly squeeze. Now we're starting to lose momentum. We're getting buy signals and oversold. So I think that potentially this could be in for a trend change. It's going to take a little bit of time, and this is not something that I'd play because the chart isn't clean. But if it does start to flip to the upside, this would be a great thing for equities. And then also, if we take a look at the dollar looks like it's ready to break down. You can kind of see here we're creating a little bit of a bear flag. I would like to see us get back below this support level here and have this squeeze fire to the downside and target this lower 2 ATR, which I think would be good for equities. Well, it would be good for equities as well. So really, it's kind of pretty dependent on what this ends up doing. If we push higher, that's going to cause the S&P to push lower because they've been falling pretty closely. So that's kind of my take on the markets. Pretty simple. I'm just taking a longer term view. I'm using any pullback in the next week or two to add to long positions and look to play this weekly squeeze on QQQ. And you can kind of see the last time we got that opportunity was here. And you can see we had a run up from roughly that $300 area all the way up to 386. So yeah, this potentially could be the time when we start getting aggressive in terms of swing trading and longer term trades on the indexes, as well as names that look good like Nvidia and Meta. So do you guys have tickers that you want me to look at, or are you guys good? You're just going to follow the watch list that I sent out. If you guys have stocks that you want me to check out, I can do that and we can kind of review those. Or if you're good to go, then that's all I got for you. That's kind of my view and how I'm looking at things here. Okay. Nobody has stocks they want to look at. All right. PLTR. Okay. PLTR. Okay. So there's nothing really I would do with this one here. So I would like to see it pull back to this area here, maybe the 8 EMA, to catch an entry there to take it up to that 52-week high. But from here, really, it's at the point where it can come back to that 21 EMA at any point. It pretty much looks the exact same, or in terms of the most recent price action, it looks very similar to the S&P 500. So I would like to see a pullback, and I would play this longer term setup here on the weekly and take this to the upside back to the 52-week high of $20. And then you've kind of got a lot of supply right here. So that could be a little tough to play. Or not an easy move upside once it gets past that $20 mark. Because if you think about it, just think about it this way, it's like it has a lot of baggage. So when I say that, basically I mean like if you look here think about all the people that bought shares here and are just holding and hoping. It's like, oh, when it gets back to break even, I'm gonna sell. When it gets back to break even, I'm gonna sell. And so once you kind of get to that point, there's going to be a lot of people in here that bought shares here that are going to get out at break even, and it's going to make it, which is going to be selling. So it's going to make it hard for that stock to move higher. There's a lot of baggage here. And so like an example of a stock that has no baggage to the upside would be NVIDIA. We're at 52-week highs. There's only people that are going to want to take profits or buy from there. PLTR, you've got a lot of just crap kind of in the way, right? You've got all those people that are holding and hoping to get out at break even. So that's kind of my view on that. But I do think if you can get a pullback here, you could take it to that $20, and then I'd just leave runners from there and see if it can break through all this mess right here. So this one had a pretty crazy day. I think it was Friday after the earnings came out. Yeah, it gapped down a lot and then got bought right back up. Now, just from a psychological perspective, I think this might be an easy place to like how do I want to put this? So based on this here, like just think of the psychology behind this candle here. Like we gapped down on earnings and it got bought right back up. Now let's see. Yeah, so with this, my view is kind of like it could continue to push upside. It's just not a clean setup. So like there's not really a play. It's more so the thought that it could probably keep going because we had so many buyers step in after that earnings report. And was it a good earnings report? No, it was okay. But that's kind of my view on that. Now, if that wasn't the case, like take this candle out of it, I would think, okay, as soon as momentum shifts, this is a short back to 52-week lows. That's kind of my opinion on that. So like it's tough because of this candle, because it was bought up so quickly, but it also looks like a short. If I wasn't looking at this candle, like if I was to go here like this and look at it from this perspective, this is an easy short back to 52-week lows. But now we have that candle, it makes it a little harder. So I kind of, honestly, I would just stay away from this one and let it figure itself out for a week or so. And because of earnings. Now, if you want to look at like lower time frame stuff, like there's a 2-hour squeeze, you could play the 2-hour squeeze, wait for the EMAs to flip, take your entry, and this would be a pretty easy move back up to $28. So I'd give it a few days to let it work itself out, see if the price holds it all here, and then make your decision from there. But right now, like the lower time frames look like they're ready to flip. It's just not ready yet. So I think it would be a long, it just needs more time. Amazon. So this name I like to the upside. I just need to see a pullback, right? Like I've got an alert here to if it pulls back to this area right here, I'll look to get long this name. But right now, there's nothing I can do with it. I think this is kind of so like Amazon, it's kind of similar to everything else, like Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Nvidia. It's going to do whatever the Nasdaq and S&P 500 do, and I think that this is probably going to continue higher. I have the same view on this as I do the Nasdaq. It's just a matter of what's the best names to play. And in my opinion, Amazon's a pretty good setup, but I'd probably go towards the Nasdaq first before I went to this one, because the Nasdaq, whoa, that could be, well, I'm looking at it, that could be a giant inverse head and shoulders there as well. So I mean, I think it's worth a shot if you want to play this name. But like I said, the names I'm going to run to first are NVIDIA and Meta. It's going to do the same thing as the rest of the market does. So I have the same view as I do as the market. So yeah. Any other stocks that you guys want me to look at, or are you good to go? Going once, going twice. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you guys for coming. If you have questions, feel free to DM us. If you're not a part of the signals chat, we had a great week last week. If you want to learn how to trade a little bit better or learn some stuff that you don't know, we teach our strategies, we teach how we trade, and also give our trades out as alerts. And you get a free week trial, and you can leave if you hate it and not have to pay anything. So just go to the free trial section in the Discord. You can sign up for a free week, see if you like it. But yeah, we'd love to have you. But thank you guys for coming, and I'll see you for the markets tomorrow.